In this video on coordinate geometry of the line, we'll be looking at how to make the equation of the line. The equation of the line defines the line. But there's lots of different lines. So if I'm going to define a line, I need to think, what are the key pieces of information about that line? What are its key features? So there are two things that make each line unique. And these features are its slope and the points it passes through. So these are the two things I'll need to know about in order to make the equation of the line. Remember, the slope can be called m. And in fact, to find the equation of the line, I only need one point on the line. And I'll be calling that point x1, y1. So I'm going to go to the log tables now on page 18 again to see have we got a formula that incorporates those to find the equation. And you can see here on page 18, the third formula gives us the formula for the equation of the line. So equation of the line is y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. So we've got the m that I mentioned for slope and the x1 and y1 from the point. We also have an alternative format here for the equation of the line, y equals mx plus c. I won't be talking about that just yet, but it'll be coming up in a little while. So here's the formula for our equation again from page 18 of the log tables. In the log tables, you might notice there are no brackets around the y minus y1, but you can put them in if you like. So let's have a look at an example question then where we have to find the equation. A line passes through the point 2, 5 and has a slope of 3. Find its equation. So the first thing that I'll do is I'll note the formula. And again, that's just y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. And then I need to do my little checklist. Do I have all the information I need to get the equation? Well, like I said previously, the two things that I need to get the equation is the slope and the point. Or really, I should say the slope and a point. Any point will do me. So let's check if I have those things. Well, slope, yeah, I'm told the slope is 3, so I'll tick that off. And a point, well, yes, I'm told line passes through 2, 5, so I've got a point on the line, so I'll tick that off as well. I have both things I need, so I can begin. I'm going to write those two pieces of information down for myself, the point and the slope, and I'm going to label them before I begin to fill in. Now you'll notice my formula that I've got a y and an x that aren't called y1 and x1. This y and this x just get left as y and x. I don't fill anything in for those. So they'll stay exactly as they are, and I'll just fill the pieces of information in then for y1, m and x1. So how will that look? So I'll start at that y, and then I'll minus y1, and that's 5. And that's going to be equal to m, and I know that m is 3. The x from the formula just gets written down exactly as is, and then I want to minus x1, so I'll be minusing that too. So now I've filled in my equation of the line formula. Now I need to tidy it up a little bit. So the obvious thing to do first of all is to multiply out this bracket on the right hand side. So I'll do that. Y minus 5 will be equal to 3x minus 6. At this stage, I've got a choice about what I do next. There are two standard ways of presenting the equation of your line. The first one is ax plus by plus c equals 0. So what it means to present the equation of your line in this way is to get everything to one side of the equation, so bring everything over to one side and have it equals to 0. A lot of the time we like to have the x coefficient being positive, so in this particular case we'd bring everything over to the right hand side. So let's see how that would look. I'll bring everything to the right so there's nothing left on the left, and then 3x is going to stay put and so is minus 6, and the y and the minus 5 will come over and they'll change sign. And then I'll put the x first and then the y and then the number equals to 0. So in this case I'll have 3x minus y, and then I'll put my numbers together, my constants, the like terms, minus 6 plus 5 is minus 1, equals to 0. And again, this is called presenting my equation in the form ax plus by plus c equals 0. Sometimes a question will specifically ask you to write your equation this way. The other way that we can be asked to write the equation of our line is in the form y equals mx plus c. So this just involves arranging our equation in a slightly different order. We want to leave the y on the left-hand side equals to everything else. Looking at our equation here, that's pretty easy to do. I'll just leave this y here and move the minus 5 over. So in this case, I'd have y equals, okay, well the 3x and the minus 6 are staying put and the minus 5 is going to go over. So I'll have y equals 3x minus 6 plus 5. And then obviously minus 6 plus 5 will give minus 1. So I've got y equals 3x minus 1. Now just to note, you don't need to do both of these. Look and see what it asks you to do in the question. See what it says in the question, and if they don't specify what they want in the question, well then you get to pick. And generally I would suggest that the y equals mx plus c format of the equation of the line is a good one to go with. And I'll be spending a bit more time on that format a little bit later down the road. We'll see exactly why it's such a nice way of writing the equation of our line. Okay, so now a question for you. So a line passes through 1, 4 and has a slope of minus 2. Find its equation. And just for the sake of practice, get it in both formats. And just to remind you what those look like, they're ax plus by plus c equals 0, and the other format is y equals mx plus c. Just to point out that even though they look different, they're actually representing the same information. They're just put in a different order. So pause the video here for a moment while you work out your equation of your line, and then play and see if you're correct. So the first thing to note is that we're making the equation of a line, so we have to note its formula. Again, that's on page 18 in the log tables. And we've got y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. And I'm making a note of my point and my slope. And I'm going to label those. And now I'll fill them in. So I'm going to have y minus 4 equals minus 2 by x minus 1. Now, I said for the sake of practice, get the answer in both formats. So I'm going to start off by getting it in the format ax plus by plus c equals 0. But actually, no matter which format I want to use, I'll have to multiply out my brackets next. So I'll do that now. Okay, so now to get it in the format ax plus by plus c equals 0, I'll bring everything to one side of my equation. Remember I said a minute ago that I'd like the x coefficient to be positive? It's negative here, so I'll bring everything to the left-hand side of the equation this time. So y minus 4 is staying put, and then the minus 2x plus 2 is coming over. They both change sign, and there's an equal 0 at the end. And now I'd like just to put things in the correct order. So the x, then the y, then the constant equals 0. So the 2x will go first, and then the y, and of course that's a plus y. And then minus 4 minus 2 is going to give me minus 6, and I've got equals 0 at the end. So that's writing it in the form ax plus by plus c equals 0. Right, now let's try writing it in the other format. Again, this is just for practice. You'd never have to do it both ways really in a question. So I want to get this format this time. That just means getting the y by itself on the left-hand side. So let's go back to here to have a look again. Okay, so that's what I got when I multiplied out. So I want to get y on the left and everything else on the right-hand side. So I'll have y equals minus 2x plus 2 plus 4, and then just put the constants together to get y equals minus 2x plus 6. So our answer can be written in this way as 2x plus y minus 6 equals 0, or in this way as y equals minus 2x plus 6. Again, just watch out and see, does the question have any particular preference for how you do it? And if it does, they'll tell you very clearly. Okay, let's look at a second example. So here we have a line passing through the point minus 2, 1, and it has a slope of minus 3. We want to find its equation, and this time I'm being directed to which option I should use. I want to write it in the form y equals mx plus c. So I'm going to go through this example, but if you feel confident that you know what to do, you can pause it here and try and do it yourself. Just a little hint, watch out for signs. So first of all, I'll note my formula. I'm looking for equation. So the formula is y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. I've got the two things that I need for my checklist. I've got my slope and I've got my point. So I'm going to label both of those. And now I'll fill them in. So I'll start off with y minus 1, and that'll be equal to m, which is minus 3, bracket. Okay, now I've got x minus x1. I'll fill the x in next, but just watch out here because notice there's a minus in the formula and there's a minus with the x1. And of course, we know that a minus minus is a plus. So you can write this as plus 2 if you like, or you can write it as minus minus 2 if you prefer. I'd normally write it as plus, but I'm just doing the minus minus to make it nice and obvious at this stage for you. And if you do write the minus minus at this stage, well then take the time to write this line out again, writing in the plus. And now I'll multiply out my bracket. So I've got y minus 1 on the left, and then minus 3 by x and minus 3 by plus 2, leading to minus 3x minus 6. Now I was asked to write my equation in the form y equals mx plus c this time. So the y will stay on the left and everything else will go to the right-hand side of the equation. Minus 3x minus 6 is already there, and now the minus 1 comes across and becomes a plus 1. And finally I'll tidy up. and I'll have y equals minus 3x minus 5. And this is the equation of the line in the form y equals mx plus c. So now here's a question for you again. So a line passes through the point 0 minus 3 and has a slope of 4. Find its equation in the form ax plus by plus c equals 0. So just watch out this time again for signs and also for the format in which you're requested to give your answer. Pause the video here, do this yourself, and then play and check if you're correct. Okay, so first thing again is your formula. So my formula for the equation is y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Then I'll note the key information I'm going to put into that. I've got 0, minus 3 and 4. And again, I'll label those before I put them in. So I've labelled my point and I've labelled my slope as m. And I will sum that in. So I've got y, now just watch out here. I've got a minus in the formula. I've got a minus in the y1. So I'm going to write y minus minus 3. And again, once you get more fluent with this, feel free to write the plus straight in, but do make sure that you've thought about it before you write it down. And that's going to be equal to our slope, which is 4, times x, and then minus x1, and x1 is 0. And now we'll just take a chance to write this down with the plus in it properly. And then I'll multiply out my brackets. So on the left-hand side, that's very simple. I've just got y plus 3. On the right-hand side, I'm multiplying 4 by the bracket to give me 4x. And then 4 times minus 0 is just 0. Now, we tend not to write minus 0, so you can write it as plus 0. But if you write it as minus 0, that's fine too, because 0 won't make a difference either way anyway. And then the question asked me to write it in the form ax plus by plus c equals 0. That means getting everything to one side, and I'd like it to go on one side so that the x is positive. And the x is already positive, so I'll bring everything over to this side. So on the left, 0 equals, the 4x plus 0 can stay on the right, and then the y and the 3 are coming over, so they'll change sign. They were adding, and now they're subtracting, and now I'll tidy up. And that just required me to do 0 minus 3. Now you might wonder, how have I flipped from this line to this line? Well, if you think about this equation, 4x and 0 minus y minus 3 equals 0. So 4x minus y minus 3 equals 0. It doesn't matter which direction I write it in. And we like to write our equation of our line with the information on the left and the equal 0 on the right at the end. The 0 minus 3 obviously made a minus 3. And just as a quick little hint, you might note that once the 0 went in the formula, it wasn't really doing very much and it kind of faded out by the end. So if you fill a 0 in to either of the brackets, you can actually just ditch it on the next line if you like, and you'll still end up with the same solution at the end. Just watch out that if the slope is 0, don't ditch it. That's important. So again, just to remind ourselves, we've looked at the equation of the line, we have its formula, page 18 in the log tables, and we've looked at two different formats. We've looked at the ax plus by plus c equals 0 that we see here, and we've looked at the y equals mx plus c format that we saw in the example number 2. And we'll have to keep our eyes open to see which type is requested by a question, and then do that. And if one isn't requested, we get to pick ourselves, and we tend to prefer to use y equals mx plus c, and I'll discuss that in a further video.